Something happened this week that could quietly kill most SaaS companies, and most people in tech are not ready to accept it. Hey, I am Deepak Shukla's AI avatar, founder of Lem Studio, a vibe-coded SaaS studio, and today I want to talk about exactly what that is and why it matters to every founder and operator paying attention right now. I think we just crossed a line, not gradually, not theoretically, but in a way that if you are paying attention, is actually pretty hard to ignore. And the thing is, this is the kind of shift that only makes sense in hindsight. 5 years from now, people will say, yeah, that was the moment. We just did not name it properly at the time. Let me ground this in reality, not hype. Just in the last few days, Uber's CTO openly said that AI coding is fundamentally changing how engineering works. Open source agent ecosystems have exploded in adoption, with hundreds of thousands of developers now building and sharing software components. And more founders than ever are publicly saying they are replacing SaaS tools with internal builds. But it is not just one headline, it is the pattern. It is the fact that these stories are all arriving at the same time from completely different directions: enterprise, open source, and bootstrapped founders. That kind of convergence is a signal, not noise. When you connect those dots, you start to realize something uncomfortable. The core reason SaaS exists is starting to disappear. For the last 20 years, the model was simple. You buy software to run your business. That was just how it worked. You identified a need, you found a vendor, you paid a monthly fee, you maybe customized it a little. You lived with the 80% that fit and worked around the 20% that did not. That was the deal. And for a long time, that deal made complete sense. Now that model is becoming something very different. Now you generate software as part of running your business. And those are not small differences. That is a category level shift. NVIDIA is already pushing the idea that every company needs an agent strategy, not just a software stack. The game has changed. And the companies that are still thinking in terms of tools to subscribe to are already starting to fall behind the ones thinking in terms of systems to build. Now, vibe coding sounds like a meme. It sounds like non-technical people just playing around with prompts and hoping for the best. But that is not what is actually happening. What has really changed is that the cost of building custom software has collapsed, not reduced, collapsed. Think about what that actually means in practice. Tasks that used to take a senior engineer 2 weeks now take hours. Prototypes that used to require a full team now come from a single founder with a clear idea and the right tools. You are no longer writing every function, managing every dependency, or architecting everything from scratch. You are prompting, assembling, and iterating, and you are doing it fast enough that building has become the default option, not the last resort. That is the real shift. Not that coding got easier, but that the decision to build versus buy has fundamentally rebalanced. Here is where it gets controversial. Most SaaS products are not that complicated. They feel complicated because they have been built over years, they have layers of features, and they have polished interfaces, but at their core, most of them are doing the same thing. Data goes in, logic is applied, output is shown. That is it. Think about your CRM, your project management tool, your reporting dashboard, your internal ticketing system. Strip away the branding, the onboarding flows, the integrations marketplace, and what are you actually left with? Usually a database with a UI wrapped around it, and historically that was genuinely hard to build. So you paid for it. Now that is increasingly trivial to replicate, not perfectly, not instantly, but fast enough and well enough that the calculation is changing. SaaS has always worked because of one core assumption. It is easier to buy than to build. That assumption is now under serious pressure. Today, you can build internal tools in hours or days. You can customize them infinitely. You are not locked into someone else's roadmap. You are not waiting for a feature request to be picked up in Q3. You're not paying for 10 features when you only use 2. You build exactly what you need and nothing else. So the question shifts. Instead of asking which SaaS should I buy, you start asking why would I pay for this at all? We have felt this ourselves at Lem Studio. There were parts of our stack where evaluating tools, reading docs, trialing platforms, comparing pricing tiers actually took longer than just building something fit for purpose. And once that happens, even once, it changes how you think about every single SaaS purchase after that, permanently. But the bigger shift is not about cost, it is about expectation. Because once you have used something built exactly for your workflow, exactly your processes, exactly your data, exactly your edge cases, and everything else starts to feel slightly broken, not unusable, just off, slightly bloated, slightly inflexible, slightly frustrating, it is like the difference between a bespoke suit and an off-the-rack one. The off-the-rack suit is not bad, but once you have worn something made for your exact measurements, you notice the difference every single time. And that is a one-way shift. You do not go back from that. Your tolerance for generic just quietly drops. And that has enormous implications for every SaaS company competing in the middle of the market. Now, to be fair, this is not all upside. The same week we are seeing this acceleration, we are also seeing massive increases in leaked secrets from AI-generated code and more fragile systems being pushed live faster than ever. So what you get is speed increasing dramatically while reliability lags behind, which creates a new problem. Not can you build it, but should you trust what you built? Who is responsible when the AI-generated logic fails in production? What happens when a vibe-coded system handles sensitive customer data and nobody fully understands how it works under the hood? These are real questions, and they do not have clean answers yet. The risk is not that people stop building. The risk is that people build fast, skip the hard parts, and the consequences show up later in ways that are very difficult to undo. Here is my honest view. A large portion of SaaS is becoming economically irrational. Not all of it, but a worrying amount of it. The top layer, the deeply technical, deeply integrated, genuinely complex platforms, the things that are hard to build even with AI assistance, those will survive and thrive. The middle layer is where the real pressure is. The generic tools, the horizontal platforms, the good enough solutions that millions of businesses have been paying for every single month, that layer is getting squeezed hard because it is now competing with something it never had to compete with before. Custom software built instantly for free by the very user it was trying to sell to. That is not a small threat. That is an existential one for a lot of products sitting in that middle ground. And a lot of those companies have not started reckoning with it yet. But here's the upside, and it is a big one. This does not kill opportunity. It expands it, because the new winners are not the biggest companies or the most funded ones. They are the ones closest to real problems, the fastest to build and iterate, the most opinionated about what should exist, and increasingly the ones building tools that help others build their own systems faster. That is really where things are going. Even with what we are doing around Lem Studio, the focus is not let us build another SaaS tool. It is how do we make it faster and easier to create exactly what you need, and only that. So no, SaaS is not disappearing overnight, but the rules have changed. And the real question now is not what software should I subscribe to, it is what should I build and what is still worth buying. And the founders who can answer that question clearly, quickly, and repeatedly, they are the ones who win from here.